countdown with the okay.
Oh,
They skip 4 usually, but this time they got it. Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Unlock Your Freedom podcast with Kevin Keppel, and today with Michael DeLon. What's up,
hey,
Michael?
Kevin, man, thanks for having me. It's going to be a great conversation just to chat and see what kind of bombs we can drop on people, right?
Yeah, and every time I walk away from our conversations, I feel like super invigorated. You give me like an espresso shot, and
there you go. That's awesome.
Pumped to get everybody to hear your genius today. But a real quick bio, and I'll let you guys hear it from the source. But Michael's the #1 best-selling author of On Marketing. He's president of Paperback Expert, where he helps owners publish books that position them as experts in their field. And really what he does is uses credibility marketing strategies to help people gain more clients, get more referrals, grow their revenue. And man, just a really cool dude overall. And I'm just grateful that you took the opportunity to share with me and everybody else. But kick us off. How'd you get started doing what you do?
Hey, man, I appreciate that, Kevin. Yeah, let me tell you the whole story, okay? It'll take 3 minutes, but it'll be invigorating, I hope. So first of all, you got to know I'm a follower of Christ. I've been married 32 years to my wife. We've got 4 kids. 2 grown sons who are 27 and 24. They're both married out of the house. I've got 2 daughters who are 14 and 11 now. They're both adopted. We did foster care for about 8 years, fostered about 25 kids in that time period. That's where both my daughters came from. And when Jill and I got married in 1990, the first 5 years of our marriage, Kevin, were like this, man. We fought because we're total and complete opposites. Jill and I are. And even though she and I both grew up in church, nobody ever taught us how to be married. And so we fought. And we finally got a ticket to a weekend to remember by a ministry called Family Life. We went to a weekend marriage conference, sat in a ballroom with 1,000 people, and they unpacked for us God's blueprints for marriage. I didn't know he had any blueprints. So we got the blueprints, we applied them, our marriage started getting better. During that time of my life, this is the 90s, I was in Christian radio sales. So I'd be out selling, Christian radio to business owners. And I found out after 2 years of doing that, Kevin, nobody wants to buy Christian radio. They wanted to sell their products and services. And so I had a decision to make. I could either be really good at selling or I could get really good at marketing. And so I chose marketing. I read the books. I went to the conferences, followed the gurus, got really good at how to market for small business owners. And so my business would grow as my clients would grow. All right, fast forward to like 2000. The internet was just getting started, right? Amazon was just getting started. And some friends of mine launched a .com to localize the internet. And so I left the radio station, started selling banner ads and things to local car dealerships and people who didn't even have websites back then. And that company was ahead of its time, which means they went bankrupt. And so I found myself in my house looking up at the ceiling going, God, what am I supposed to do now? And he spoke to my heart. He says, Michael, I want you in a ministry to families, and I want you at Family Life, that ministry that my wife and I went to. So we raised our support for 2 years as missionaries and moved from Indiana down to Little Rock, Arkansas, which was their world headquarters. Kevin, man, I thought I hit nirvana. Why would I ever do anything else? This was amazing. I get to go out and help other people learn God's blueprints for marriage. And so I climbed the corporate ladder. 6 years later, I'm on the leadership team of that ministry, right? And they start going through corporate reorganizations. Well, after the 3rd reorganizational chart comes out, my name is no longer on the leadership team. And so they start shuffling me around the ministry to do different things. And that was the beginning of a 2-year prison term for me. And I mean by that, I was in a job that I hated at a ministry that I loved. And so I would go home every night, totally exhausted, emotionally exhausted. After 2 years, I looked up, I said, God, I got to get out of this place. And he says, what do you want to do? I said, I want to go help small business owners with marketing because they hate it and I love it. And he said, go. So January 1st, 2013, I escaped from prison. I left the ministry, started a marketing consulting firm, and I'd call you, Kevin. I'd say, hey, Kevin, I think I can help you grow your business. You'd meet with me. We'd have a great conversation. Somewhere in that chat, you would say, hey, Michael, what have you done in the last few years? Who have you helped? I say, I've helped build marriages and families at Family Life. And you'd say, Michael, that's honorable. Way to go. Oh, look at the time. I've got another meeting coming up. Let's reschedule and keep the conversation going, Michael. And you'd usher me out the door. And I wasn't gaining any clients because you saw me as a ministry guy, not a marketing guy. And so I knew I had to fix that. So I went to my church, 2nd floor, pacing the hallways. And I said, God, how do I help Kevin? Because I know I can. And God gave me the idea to take all of my marketing strategies and ideas and put them in a book. And so I published my first book on marketing back in 2013. And then I would call you and say, Kevin, I can help you with your business. I'd mail a copy of my book to you. I'd walk into your office a week later for our appointment, and there it was. My book was on your desk, dog-eared, highlighted, underlined. You'd read my book. And in that meeting, you say, now, Michael, in your book, you said, how do you help me do that? And you'd hire me. And the next person hired me. And the next person, I started gaining clients, and I thought, this is really cool. Now, Kevin, the only thing that changed between the first meeting I had with you and the second was the fact that I published a book and you immediately thought of me as an expert when you got a copy of my book. It's how you thought of me. That's what changed everything. And I thought, man, this is really cool. Why don't business owners do this? Well, it's challenging to write a book, right? And so we created a company that helps business owners, experts, thought leaders create a book without writing a word. And then we teach them our credibility marketing strategies and systems so that they will be able to gain clients, get referrals, and grow their revenue when they are seen as the expert in the eyes of their audience. Whew. That was a long journey, but that's how I got here, man.
Man, that's amazing. I love the escape from prison part specifically.
Yeah, it resonates with a lot of people.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was such a fantastic metaphor. And, I think everybody probably related to that in some form, because I instantly thought about it, corporate job that I had where I felt like I was on lockdown for sure.
That's right. Solitary confinement. Like,
shoving bread and water into the door once in a while and telling me I was, no good or whatever. I'd love to know kind of before we go into the, what you do now, talk about that blueprint that you mentioned a little bit for marriage. I just want to know like one or two of the big like ahas that kind of brought you, or you see that brought people again and again, kind of the, big hits.
Yeah, no, that's good. I appreciate you talking about that because that's one of my passions is marriage and family. So when we were sitting in that conference, right, like the first night, they were talking a couple of things. They talked about affairs, right? He says, how many of you have had an affair, right? And like no hands go up. He's like, let me clarify. An affair. Yeah, it's a little awkward. And you're like, huh?
Yeah.
But he started talking about affairs being things you give more time to than your spouse. So it could be work. It could be golf. It could be, and he puts it in that context. And he says, now, how many of you have had an affair? So like every hand goes up. But then he talks about conflict. And in every relationship, we have conflict, right? But the phrase that came, he's like, turn and look at your spouse and repeat after me. You are not my enemy. Ooh. That was a turning point, dude, because so many times in marriages we have conflicts. And what do? We square off, dukes up, and I'm going right after my mate, the one I love. And that's exactly what the enemy wants us to do, because he wants to come in and divide us and separate us. And they said, you're not the enemy. You may have issues, but put those issues out in front of you on a table. Come alongside one another, shoulder to shoulder, and say, we have an issue. Let's figure that out together, because you're not my enemy. You're my mate. That was a big turning point for us. And then the whole concept of forgiveness. What is forgiveness, and how do you actually apply it? As a follower of Christ, I have been forgiven of my sins. How do I extend that to my mate and stop being such a jerk and saying, you know what, honey, you didn't fill the ice cube trays up the right way. You loaded the dishwasher the wrong way. No, shut up. I need to be forgiving and graceful, because dude, I got so many issues that she overlooks and loves me through. But it's realizing that when I forgive you, I'm not going to bring it up again. It's over. Those two concepts, and working on communication through all of that over the last 25, 30 years, it's helped tremendously. I mean, we by no means have this thing all figured out. We still work on it. But those two pivot points, you're not my enemy, and learning about forgiveness and how to extend that and how to receive it, were just powerful.
Oh my gosh. I think forgiveness is a massive superpower. I think that's one of the key pieces that I know personally I missed for a long time in my life. And I was making all these judgments about myself and about other people and about situations. And like the key is forgiveness, because when you forgive, you let go of all that trapped energy inside that judgment. And like, it's really crucial that people understand, whatever you judge, you can't understand any longer, because that's a static decision you just made.
Yeah.
And, like, oh my gosh, like, raise your hand if you're perfect. Okay. No hands shoot up, right? Raise your hand if you've like sinned today, right?
That's right.
Every hand goes
Yeah.
up. But like, I mean, Jesus is so graceful with us, like chance after chance. And it's like, I don't necessarily pray to be free of sin, because you know what? I'm going to sin again. I just
Absolutely.
pray to have courage to do the best I can. Right.
Yeah.
And like, man, I love that. You know what? Jesus didn't expect people to be perfect at all. And it's
At
like,
all.
and not everybody's ready to hear it, and he didn't say stay there and beat their head against the wall until they get it. It's like, shake the dust off your feet and go to the next town. Like, it's all good,
Absolutely.
man. They'll be ready when they're
Absolutely.
ready. And like, what you do when you forgive is like, you create the pathway for miracles. And
Yeah.
like, the coolest thing about miracles, like, there's a really good book that has lots of miracles in it. It's called the Bible. Check it out.
That's right.
But miracles, like, what do? They compress the need for time. Because he's like, you know what? I want to walk on water in an instant, right? He didn't have to wait for 2 days from Amazon. And
That's
it's
right.
just so beautiful. But like, miracles only arise in a mind that's ready for them. And to be ready, you have to be, in the present moment, letting go. And
That's
I
right.
love that you went there. That's so beautiful.
It's powerful. And they talked, and I've read in other books around forgiveness and things, is that when you don't forgive, it's like having a glass of poison that you drink waiting for the other person to die, because you're just carrying around the angst and and it's like, because you haven't forgiven them, and it's okay. Receive forgiveness, give forgiveness. Life is so much easier, but it's challenging because we like to cling on to lots of things.
Yeah. Well, you can't give what you don't have, and that's why it's so important that you're graceful with yourself. Like, just like, you're not perfect, and that's okay.
Yeah, I love Romans 8:1 is one of my favorite verses, and it says, "Therefore, there is now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus." And what do we do when we sin? When we have an argument with our spouse, we condemn ourselves. Oh, I should have said that. Oh, I should right. There's none of that. God has no condemnation. All he has is blessing for his children, for those who are fallen. That's all he has. Living in that is freeing. You talk about unlocking your freedom. It's understanding that, to go, yeah, I screwed up, but I don't have to dwell on it. I don't have to beat myself up. I have to make it right.
Right.
But go. I'm free. I'm restored. It's like, wow, that's.
Well, too, we lean into that. I mean, one of the greatest fears people have is like of death for whatever reason. I'm like, okay, like, like, what's the worst thing that could happen? I could die. Like, well, what happens when you die? Like, I feel like really cool things happen after that. Like, get to go to heaven,
Totally.
hang out with Jesus, and like, that sounds like actually way better than a lot of the stuff that we do daily. So
well,
I don't think
it does, and we'll go there because you just opened that door, dude. So I have a totally different perspective on death and dying. My dad was killed in a motorcycle accident in 1987, and that really shifted my perspective. He was a believer, so I get to see him again in heaven. My mom just passed away like a month ago. She was 93. She's in heaven. I can't wait to do that. But I try to keep my focus in my life around, why am I living today? Why am I even here today? I woke up this morning, laying in bed, thanking God for the day, for a good night's sleep, and his mercy to give me life today, because it wasn't promised, right? And so I keep in my planner my philosophy for living and all my goals and things. And I have here's my mantra, my 6-word mantra that I was challenged a couple of years ago to come up with. 6 words. Are you ready? Live this day for that day. Meaning, there will come a day when I die and I will stand eyeball to eyeball with Jesus Christ. And I'm living my life today so that I hear from him, well done, my good and faithful servant. That's all that really matters to me at the end of the day. How I live my life, how I encourage people, how I share, so that Jesus will say, well done, because nothing else matters. So that's going to happen. So I have to live this day for that day. And it impacts everything that I do, how I show up, what I do, because it's a reality that death is going to happen.
Ooh, that's powerful. And I think it's such an easy, guide just to have, because it's like, John said it pretty straight up, right? John's like, God is love, and
that's right.
Okay, cool. Like, what does choosing love over fear in this moment look like? And
Yeah.
that's how we
And you
stay really connected.
you look at love when Paul unpacked love in 1 Corinthians 13, right? What is love? Love is patient. That usually stops me. I haven't gotten that one yet. But it's kind, and it's like, okay, yeah, how do I get more of that? It's by spending more time with him so that he can live in and through me.
But Paul's such a great example, like, because he's a huge like juxtaposition, right? Like from
totally.
before and after, and the contrast of the way he lived his life was two very extremes, and it's really like that such good hope for us. Like,
well, it is, and for entrepreneurs, I mean, Paul was a tent maker. He was an entrepreneur. He was a self-supported missionary many times, right? So if you're an entrepreneur and you can look at the life of Christ and see how he was passionate for the kingdom and the gospel, and he loved people, and he made tents and used his tent making to fund his ministry and to be a blessing. So I think for entrepreneurs, he's a great model to look at and go, it's not either or. It's both and. You can be an entrepreneur and a follower of Christ and do wonderful things. It's great.
Yes, like that right there. And I used to have trouble with that. Like, is it greedy to make money? Like, no, dude. The whole point is to grow as much as we can because then we have more to give.
That's right.
The point, right? We didn't get these gifts so we could hide in a cave and not share them. We got these gifts so we could bless, ourselves, and families, and everyone around us. And
absolutely.
Let's shift gears. I want to talk about how you bless business owners, because I think, man, the first time, Michael and I used to be in a really powerful mastermind group together. Shout out to Chris Williams. What's up, Chris?
Group Coach Nation. Hey, man.
Yeah, man. A cool guy doing cool stuff. Gosh, I really liked his messaging and just who he is and the people he brought around him. Like attracts like. And Michael shared one day, and I don't remember exactly what he said, and hopefully I'm sure you can go there a little better than I am. But you said something to the fact of, I don't just help people write books. There's lots of people that help people write books, but it's really about what you do kind of, after, and how you help them bring that into the world that is really the magic. And you had a great, like, kind of lack of a better term, one-liner, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, or hopefully. So I don't know if you could go deeper and make that into English, what I just said. That'd be great.
Yeah. So I've got lots of one-liners. I got to find the right one. So the one, I mean, at the end of the day, people look at me as a book publisher, right? But I'll tell you, never write a book. I want you to speak to write your book, because I want to capture who you are through your words. I want to help you understand how to reach the heart of your audience, because when you reach the heart, the mind follows. We make decisions emotionally. But when you look at most marketing, it's very logical. When you look at most websites, they look like they were made in the 2000s. Okay, they're text-based. They have stock images. There's no video. Where's the video? I want to get to know you, right? You go to my website, there's video everywhere, right? I love video because this is how you get to know me. It's why I do a podcast. I want my prospects to listen to me, to be part of my free trainings and everything, because when I connect with you at a heart level and you like me, we're going to do business together. And at the same time, if you watch my videos and you say, "Oh, that guy's full of hooey," well, leave. I don't want you. I don't want you in my world, because it's not going to work. But I think too many times we're hiding behind so many things. So I'm real passionate, Kevin, about, number one, clarifying your message. Right? Because I think most business owners out there, they're struggling with marketing because they don't have a clear message. They're not distinct. They're what I call a coffee bean. Okay, now, Kevin, I love coffee. I'm drinking some right now. And coffee's great, but if you open up a bag of coffee beans and you pour it out on the table in front of you, all of those beans, they look the same, they smell the same. And in marketing, if you look like and sound like all of your competitors, you're not giving me a reason to choose you. And I'm convinced, Kevin, that people are going to buy you more than what you do. I'm going to buy Kevin because I like Kevin. I resonate with Kevin. I appreciate how he approaches things and how he communicates. Because there are probably other coaches who do what you do. Why am I choosing you? That's what I want to bring out and make part of your unique message. Then we create your book. And then once your book's created and you're an Amazon best-selling author, then we teach you our marketing systems. And that's the other place where I see business owners really faltering, is they don't have systems in their business. and you have to have systems. And so we create marketing systems that we use in our business, and then we codify them, give them to our clients to use in their business, and teach you how to market using credibility marketing so that you too will be able to gain clients and capture their attention, reach their heart, and build a great relationship as you serve them. I don't know if I answered that question or not, but
Yeah, you answered something. That was pretty powerful. I love when you said clarify your message. You got the little chime on your phone. That was very fortuitous.
yeah.
It was like, ding, important point here.
Oh,
So
timing, man.
yeah, that was amazing. Okay, so somebody's listening. You work with entrepreneurs and business owners, and who's the types of people that you love working with the most? The favorite clients to serve.
Yeah. Industry-wise, it's just all over the board. I mean, we work with coaches, we work with financial advisors and attorneys. I guess if you phrase it this way, I love working with the Davids who are going against the Goliaths, because there are a lot of us out there who are struggling. We've got something that's really cool, but there's a lot of competitors, and there are some who've been out there longer. They've got more money, more marketing teams. How do you fight against that? Because you're not going to go head to head very often, right? David went head to head in a sense, but he kind of stood off and threw a rock, right? And so I want to equip you with that sling and that rock. And it really starts with your message. So let me give an example, because in marketing, we talk about message, market, media, all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. Here's an example. Every business owner is unique. Every business owner has a story. I had an attorney down in Florida call me, and we started the process of helping him create his book. And he's a little guy in a pretty decent market. He has two Goliaths in that market. They're each spending $500,000 a month in marketing. And he's like, dude, I don't have anywhere near that. So we talked about what he has and all that. And I said, all right, William, tell me about what's your story? Why do you live in Florida? So he went to Florida from the Northeast on a baseball scholarship, University of Florida, I think. Second year in, he was heading towards the pros as a pitcher. Second year in college, he threw his arm out. Lost his baseball scholarship, lost his pro career. So he had to go through rehabilitation, surgeries, all that stuff. Went back to college, finished his degree, became an attorney, a personal injury attorney. Okay, so that's his business now. And I said, William, have you ever told that story to anybody? He's like, no. We're going to. So we created his entire book and his positioning around that story. We published his book. It's called When Life Throws You a Curveball: What to Do When You've Been in a Serious Accident, by William Franke. He's a baseball player turned attorney. We tell his story in the early pages of this book, right? He goes on the TV morning shows now, carrying a baseball bat, his pitcher's glove, and a copy of his book. And he says, this is what I do. If life's throwing you a curveball, if you've been hit by a car, if you slipped and fell at work, if you've been bit by a dog, has something happened to you that you weren't expecting? That's what I call a curveball. Life threw me a curveball, and it ended my baseball career. If life's throwing you a curveball, I want to walk with you through the process because I've been there, and I want to help you get the settlement that you deserve. Now, that's a message that reaches out to the heart and pulls people in, and it helps them compete against those Goliaths, because all they're saying is, you've been hit by a big rig? We just won $18 million. Who cares? All right? I want to reach the heart. So everybody I work with, Kevin, has a story. They have a unique passion. I just help them codify that, put it out there, and make it unique so I can reach the heart of their audience, and the rest takes care of itself.
That's funny. I was talking with my buddy yesterday about these commercials they started airing in Dallas, and they have billboards now. And this is personal injury attorney. He's like getting off a jet, and he's like on like a yacht, I think, at one point. And he's just like, he always looks angry. And I'm like, call this guy. I'm like, man, I don't want to do anything with that guy. Like, right. There's no story except the story about how much money you're going to make him. Like that.
That's right.
There's no humanity there, right? I want to work with humans.
Yeah.
And I love the way that you connected him to his own humanity. And Michael's pretty fantastic at what he does. I've done some work with him. He's helping me a lot. So grateful for you. Talk a little bit about the credibility calculator, if you would.
Yeah, thanks. So I talk about credibility all the time, and everybody throws that word around, but nobody really can define it. So a few years ago, we did the research. We figured out what is credibility, because it really happens in the mind of your audience. They are the ones determining whether or not you are a credible source or not. But what did they look for? How do they judge you? So we created this credibility calculator. It's at our website. And in under 5 minutes, by answering 20 questions, we will give you your credibility score, 0 to 100. And then there are 5 videos that follow up that teach you what to do to increase your score. So very much like Kevin, you have a credit score. We all do, right? And we work to make it better. Do you know your credibility score? Do you know, how does your audience perceive you? And what can you do to increase that so that your audience will trust you more, will believe in you more, and will lean in? So that's what the credibility calculator will do. Again, it's under 5 minutes, 20 questions. You answer them. Everything is just popped into your email, and then you know what to do to start increasing your credibility, because you'll understand, how do people think about credibility? What are they looking to judge whether or not you're a credible source or not?
Man, that's pretty powerful, because I feel like a track number grows. For one thing, that's really important when you can create metrics, especially on something that's a little nuanced like that. Actually used the credibility calculator. That's why I asked. I was just curious.
Yeah.
Where that came from. It's really, really pretty insightful. So when you're helping folks birth the baby, the book, like what kind of like things do you see that happen again and again that, surprise the person who you're helping, but doesn't surprise you, if that makes sense?
It does. And it's those aha moments that you find clarity around your message and your business. And it happens through the conversations that you're having with your writer. Okay, so we assign a writer to you, and you walk through a series of Zoom conversations where you're building the outline for your book. You're trying to structure. Okay, Kevin, you've got everything in your head that you need to create a book. Our job is to have conversations and pull that out, structure it, and make sure there's a theme, and make sure you sound great. And so we just do that through conversations. But what happens, since you can talk about your business all day long, most business owners are pretty sporadic in how they talk. A prospect comes here or a client comes there. We just help you start structuring that in a systematic way. And because you speak to write your book with us instead of typing it out, as you're communicating with your writer, you're thinking and you're like, oh, that makes sense. And things, it's funny. I mean, concepts that you talk about all day long, they start coming together to help you, Kevin, learn how better to unlock the freedom of your clientele. So the messaging that you're so committed to as a business owner is good. We just tend to help you shift a little bit and see how everything that you do starts lining up. And once you can line up with a clear message, like William Franke, right? When life throws you a curveball, all of his marketing and messaging now comes back to this, because this is what makes him unique. So instead of trying to go out to Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn with a different message and go, I don't know what to say, he always knows what to say. So it simplifies your marketing message, because as you're walking through these conversations, you're getting these little aha moments, and now you're putting them into a book, but it doesn't end there, because once you create your book, well, now you can podcast your book, you can do videos on your book, you can do blog posts on your book, you can do Facebook. And I was with one of my clients yesterday, and we were doing some podcasting, and I said, let's just talk about each chapter of your book. And we recorded really fast 4 chapters of his book, and he didn't have to think about anything. We went to chapter 1, and it was, how to plan for retirement or whatever. And he just talked for 8 or 9 minutes about it. Why? Because he's an expert at that. And that's what we help you do is really get the light bulbs on to go, marketing shouldn't be as complex as we make it. The reason it's really complex is you don't have a crystal clear message that you can hang your hat on that everybody starts to know you from, okay? My business really pivoted. I've been doing this since 2013. First 4 or 5 years was, it was good, but it was challenging because we were trying to get our core message. What was it? And we were all over the board, like, you can write your book and you can publish your book and you can make money. And it was just, And I went to a conference one time, and I pulled up my banner, right, and was doing the dog and pony show for a weekend. And people, these attorneys would just walk by and look at my banner, and they'd just keep walking. And I'm like, something's not right. And on the drive home, I think I was in Chicago. On the drive home, I was calling my son. I'm like, all right, something's not right. We got to change our message. And I'm praying and just, God. And he gave me the idea. And I'm like, I got it. And so I switched the banner. 2 weeks later, I was at a different conference. I pulled up my banner. Attorneys would walk by and they'd stop. And they'd just look at my banner. And they just stand there. And I could just see the wheels turning, right? Because my banner had the right message that we still use today. Create your book without writing a word. And they would stand there and look at that. And then that gave me an opportunity just to walk out and say, have you ever thought about creating your own book? And we just began a discussion. That message changed everything. And I still use it today. That's what I hang my hat on everywhere I go. And then from there, I can talk about marketing and whatever. But that's the message that differentiates me from everybody else. You have one of those messages. Are you using it? So that's really through our process. Those are the light bulbs that come on. The what is your crystal clear message? What I call your signature message that's unique to you. And then how do you weave that through all of your messaging, all of your marketing, everything that you do, so it all comes back to that, which simplifies what you do. And now, I mean, Kevin, I could call you today and say, hey, I need a podcast guest, Kevin. Can you come on and talk about how an entrepreneur could just unlock some freedom and gain more accomplishments in life? Could you do that in like a heartbeat? Absolutely, you could. It's your sweet spot. That's what we do. That's what happens in our process is we have lots of those little moments like that. It's a really long answer.
No, that was really great. And you actually threw in kind of what I was talking about whenever in the mastermind, when you said something very similar in there to, well, I was like, okay, cool. Let's have a call. I
There you
want to know
go.
where you're going. So really powerful. And one quick question before we go into the little maximizer round here at the end. I think that there's like a paradox, right? Like there's a lot of people who are really good at what they do, but not very good at talking about what they do. And there's people who are really good at talking about what they do, but not really good at what they do. And so it's all like fluff on the front end, but there's so many great people out there with great stuff to offer that just aren't sure how to connect. And I think that's why it's so important, what you're doing and just helping people, connect with the right folks that could use what they do. And so I was just curious, you talked about sales and marketing and making the shift, and a lot of people, and myself included, kind of confuse those two a lot, right? And cram them together and make like the Franken marketing sales thing. And
right.
What's the differentiation to you, in your opinion, between sales and marketing?
Yeah. So I think marketing primarily is very one to many. Okay. So it's the message that I'm putting out, and it's how I'm communicating. So my videos, my podcasts and things, it's me getting my message out to the masses more so. Okay. The selling process comes once you engage with me and you opt into one of my funnels or you schedule a call with me. That's where the selling process comes in. Now the two are interrelated, right? So when somebody books a call with me, and we all use this like a Calendly. You've got a Calendly system or some kind of system. I mean, I think before this podcast, I got 5 emails from you, Kevin, reminding me that this meeting was happening, which is really good. So we have a similar process, but what I want to do is I want to precondition people to hire me before I talk with them on those calls. So when somebody schedules a call with me, I've got that Calendly system that goes out, but we added some wording in there and a link to a video. This is, hey, go watch this video before we talk, and it answers the 5 most common questions I get. Let's answer those before we talk so that when we're on the call, we can get really focused on your business and see how we can help you. So they click that, they watch it. And in that video, I've got client testimonials, I've got a process, I've got a story about me. I answer a lot of the things that they normally would answer on the call, right? Is that marketing or is that selling? Yes. Because what happens now is when they get on that phone call with me, that Zoom, as a sales call, they already know who I am. They understand my process. They know that I'm the guy that can help them. Now we can talk about their business. Say, Kevin, what are you trying to make happen? And is this really the next best step for you? I had a guy last year come to me. He's like, I'm ready to start my book, Michael. I'm ready to go. I've been around you for a couple, 3 months. I'm ready to go. And I knew him well enough. I said, Ryan, no, you're not. You're not ready to do your book yet. I said, your message isn't right. And he's like, what? So we took him and we put him, we enrolled him in one of our coaching programs where we clarified his message. We actually repositioned his entire business, renamed his business and everything. And now he and I are talking next week about his book because now he's ready. But back then he wasn't. Right. So was that marketing or selling? Well, here's what I tell everybody. I'm a terrible salesperson. When you think about what's a sales, I'm terrible. My closing question on my call after you're with me and we get to the end, right? Here's my closing question, Kevin, right? Kevin, what would you like to do? And I just wait because by then you and I both know what the answer is, but I'm going to let you decide. And most of the time, by the end of that call, you're like, how do we get started? Let's go. Is that marketing or is that sales? Yes, they're both really together. And I think when we separate them, it causes more angst and more frustration. Put them together. You're always communicating your message. You're always looking at how can I help you achieve what you're wanting to do? Because you're only interested in you. We're very selfish beings, right? What's in it for me? That's all I'm really interested in. And if you can help me get there and help me understand that and make me feel good about you. Because all right, marketing, my last thing. In marketing, I think you need to become the first person your audience thinks of and the one they feel the best about when they need your service. Going back to your new attorney and marketing guy, he may be the first one you think of because of all of his marketing, but do you feel the best about him? No. Are you going to recommend him to somebody else? No. And that's okay. He's got others come, but I want to be the one that people feel the best about because I know you're going to make a decision emotionally. Then you'll find logic to back it up.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. You keep using the word emotion. Like that's why stories are so powerful. That's how beliefs are changed just through story because it emotionally, we respond to it emotionally internally, and like that's the shift, and that's
it totally is.
We live in this world of our feeling, right? Not the world of our thinking necessarily. And
that's right.
The reason and logic's great. That's super important, but I don't need to go there first, right? Because it's not really reasonable and logical for entrepreneurs to jump off a cliff and go build their wings on the way down, so to speak. And
that's right.
I think that's beautiful. All right, let's do the maximizer round here. Protect your time. You've got books to write and people to serve.
People to help.
What's a favorite piece of mindset advice you like to share with clients?
Mindset advice is, if you can count it as mindset advice, it's be yourself. For a long time, Kevin, I didn't do video because I thought I had to show up on video like my client, like I perceived my client wanted me to show up. I don't have a great studio. I don't have superb lighting. When I got past that and just showed up as Michael, this is how you get me. This is who I am. I think being yourself really just lowers a lot of the barriers and it lets you be authentic and genuine. And if that's mindset, let's go there because I think that's probably the most powerful thing that's helped me in my thinking is don't try to be somebody else. Be who you are. Be yourself.
Yeah, that's some pretty brilliant advice. What's something in your life that's non-negotiable?
My faith in Christ would be one. My marriage. When we got married, the phrase that we learned through family life is divorce is not an option.
Ooh, powerful.
This is a covenant. It's like, okay, that changes how you think about marriage and everything. So,
yeah. What's a favorite book to read, recommend, or give away?
There's so many, but I'm looking over on my bookshelf because there's The One Thing by Gary Keller. And I've read and reread that book so many times because it's so simple, but it comes down to the one thing that I can do such that everything else becomes unnecessary or a lot easier. And that has really helped me. I've been after that for like the last 3 years, just every day. In fact, I carry a planner and on the top of my planner every day, one thing. And today it's focus, making sure I'm staying focused on how am I showing up in every meeting.
Yeah, that book is definitely one of the frequent flyers on the highly recommended list.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. What does freedom mean to you here on the Unlock Your Freedom podcast?
Freedom is living life on my terms, I think. Right. So, and it's not, it's having, money has to factor in there, but it's less about money. It's more about being able to do the things. When I started my company, I prayed and I said, God, please bless our company. I want to be able to do ministry during the day. So I occasionally will go and run to the hospital and see a friend of mine or something. I will take somebody out to coffee or lunch or something during the business day when I should be working, right? That's freedom to me. That's being able to live life, structure my life the way I believe it should be structured, having time to be with my family, vacation, all of that, and then having an economic engine in the background that provides the funds to make that happen. But the focus is the lifestyle. I think it was Dan Kennedy that always talked about building a business to support the lifestyle you want. And when I got my head around that and really understood that's not about amassing millions and millions of dollars in the bank. It's about living the freedom and being a blessing to people. And that's what I love.
Yeah, well said. All right, last question. Where can people go to learn more about you and get that book birthed?
That's right. Well, the best place is our website, Kevin. It's paperbackexpert.com. And that's the central hub of all things Michael. Credibility calculators there. You can learn all about us. Paperbackexpert.com.
Powerful. Be in the show notes, of course. You guys, you're awesome for making it to the end. Thanks for being here with us. And if you feel like somebody needs to hear this, please share it with a friend or whoever it may be that could benefit from getting to know Michael and the way he serves. And Michael, grateful to know people like you. And thanks for sharing your time with me. And hopefully, the rest of your day is full of freedom because
absolutely
somebody out there that's waiting for you to serve them. Anywho, give us one last thought, man. We'll roll out of here.
Hey, Kevin, I think just, be crystal clear and always show up with an attitude to serve. Going back to Jesus, he came not to be served, but to serve. And I think if we approach all of life with an attitude to serve and to give, we're going to have as much freedom as we can handle.
Ooh, absolutely. All righty, guys. We'll see y'all next time on the Unlock Your Freedom podcast.